Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into a totally fascinating academic study. We'll be looking really closely at the scope and the methodology concerning the cyclic economic view of Daesoon thought. It's this brilliant concept that takes traditional Eastern philosophy and basically smashes it right up against our modern economic challenges. We're going to unpack exactly how this research proposes a brand new way of looking at our entire global financial system. But to get us started, I want you to just think about something for a second. Can ancient traditions actually heal our modern economic crises? Our current global economic circulation often feels, well, completely paralyzed by all these overlapping environmental and social crises, right? But what if traditional concepts could be synthesized with Western theories to literally heal that paralysis? It sounds incredibly ambitious, for sure, but that's exactly what the research we're looking at today is attempting to do. Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for this explainer. We'll cover the wounds of modern economics, then the research purpose, dive into the cyclic analytical framework, move on to comparing religious economic views, and finish up with the dimensions of contemporary value. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Wounds of Modern Economics. The source actually uses that word, wounded, to describe our current economic paradigms, which is a pretty powerful way to frame it. Let's see why. You know, when most people think about the economy, they're usually boxed into one of four main paradigms: libertarianism, communitarianism, social contractarianism, and utilitarianism. But according to this research, staying trapped in these boxes means we're fundamentally missing the true absolute nature of economic circularity. We tend to look at the economy like it's this automatic cold machine, completely missing the fact that true economic health requires an understanding of circulation that's supported by an absolute being. And because we lack that understanding, rapid technological development is acting almost like a negative butterfly effect. It's amplifying the paralysis of our economic circulation and creating some super severe social risks. Which leads us right into Section 2, the research purpose. If our current economic thoughts are wounded and paralyzed, what's the remedy? Well, the crucial point here is that this research aims to actively resolve the existing clash between the three teachings, so that's Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism, and Western religion. And it does this by presenting a totally integrative economic, ethical, and religious solution grounded in traditional Korean science. The goal isn't just to, study history for the sake of it. The goal is to synthesize these ideas using postmodern methodologies to cyclically heal the way we think about the economy right now. Now let's get into the mechanics of how they actually did this. In Section 3, the cyclical analytical framework, we're going to unpack the dense framework used to analyze the economy through this really unique lens. Think of this framework as a sort of cyclic microscope. We're essentially putting modern economics under the lens to see how all those hidden gears of circulation actually interact with one another. It captures a really deep circulatory analysis of our entire financial structure. Let's break down the three pillars of this analytical framework, because the researcher brings together some surprisingly diverse fields here. First up, we have the Yi Jing, or the Book of Changes, from which the researcher draws cyclical attributes like complementary opposition, flow, harmonization, and return. Next, and this is where it gets really interesting, the researcher layers in Jacques Lacan's theory of circulation. That means specifically analyzing the cyclic structure of how we imagine wealth, the symbols we use for it, and the actual hard reality of our resources, often framed as the imaginary, the symbolic, and the real. And third, we have modern complexity science, which is used to analyze the nonlinear interactions within massive economic systems. So it's this highly synthetic approach, blending ancient Eastern wisdom with postmodern psychoanalysis and complex systems theory. It's quite the combo. Moving along to Section 4, comparing religious economic views. Let's look at a comparative breakdown of how established religions view economics and how they map onto those modern paradigms we discussed just a minute ago. This breakdown is absolutely fascinating. Notice how established religious thought lines right up with modern economic behaviors. Taoism's focus on wealth and saving perfectly maps to libertarianism. Buddhism's focus on distribution aligns directly with social contractarianism. Confucianism is centered on labor and production, which matches up nicely with utilitarianism. And Western religion is connected to goods and circulation, pairing with communitarianism. By organizing these thought systems in this way, the researcher is clearly establishing the landscape of fragmented economic views that Daesoon thought ultimately aims to integrate and heal. But here's the vital next step. We take those rigid domains we just looked at, and we apply the specific cyclic characteristics of Daesoon thought to them. Through a comparative analysis against the texts of the Zhengyang, the study interprets these rigid domains through a flowing, cyclic perspective, meaning it applies concepts like complementary opposition to wealth, return to distribution, harmonization to labor, and flow to goods. And finally, Section 5, Dimensions of Contemporary Value. Why does this actually matter to us today? We'll see how this theoretical methodology provides a very real framework for resolving modern ideological conflicts. Let's contrast the paralysis of our current system against the study's dimensions of restoration. As we know, our current environmental and social crises are causing a massive paralysis in global economic circulation. To counter this, the study presents 4 specific dimensions of restoration drawn directly from Daesoon thought. On the individual level, we have Umyang Haptak, which is the harmonization of yin and yang, to restore our core economic motivation. Then we have Sinin Joa, divine and human harmony, to restore ethics. On a much larger scale, we have Heiwan Sangseng, the resolution of grievances for mutual beneficence, which is actually positioned to resolve massive ideological conflicts between completely opposed systems, like capitalism and communism. And finally, Dotang Jinyong, the realization of a unified truth to restore our sense of human community. It's essentially a complete blueprint for cyclic restoration, which brings us to the researcher's ultimate hope, captured beautifully in this excerpt. Now keep in mind, the author does note that some of these specific alignments, like linking the religions to the 5 phases, represent a personal, analytical view. But the implication here is massive. The hope is that the cyclic economic view of Daesoon thought doesn't just stay stuck in a textbook, but can serve as a highly practical, globalized solution. By integrating all these diverse threads, this framework acts as a bridge, bringing Korea's distinctive cyclic mode of thinking right onto the broader world stage. To wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a question to chew on. Based on everything we've unpacked today, what would a future economic paradigm actually look like if it successfully integrated East-West economy and ethics? How might recognizing these hidden cycles of our financial systems completely reshape the future of our global economy? It's a pretty profound question. I hope this deep dive into the methodology of the cyclic economic view has given you some incredible new tools to think about it. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep exploring.